Greetings YouTube, Simon here, and welcome to another Final Fantasy VIII Remastered guide. Now today I'm going to be starting a mini-series that has been requested by quite a few folks over the last week or so since FF8 Remastered was released. This will be a complete beginner's guide to the card game Triple Triad. Now this first video will only be covering the absolute basics for those of you that have still been struggling with the mechanics of Triple Triad, and it should certainly be enough to get you started with your Triple Triad career. Now I have already been uploading more advanced strategies, tips and information that's required to master this card game in various other videos, so I will include a link in the description to a playlist that has all of these videos nicely organised into the correct viewing order. Not only is understanding and taking time to play this card game a fantastic means of upping the power levels of your party, but in my opinion it also happens to be one of the most fun mini games across Final Fantasy history. So at the very least I do hope that this mini series helps you to have a greater appreciation of Triple Triad, and as always a huge thank you to those who support my channel as YouTube members or patrons. Let's get started with the first part of the tutorial. So, seeing as how this guide addresses the absolute basics to the card game in Final Fantasy VIII, I'm going to assume that you're just starting your game, you have no idea how to play, and you have 0 cards. So what you're going to do is get through the opening cutscenes, make your way to the classroom, and then once you have free reign of your character, head over to the console in order to get your first 2 Guardian Forces. Now the Guardian Forces are the summons of Final Fantasy VIII, and the first 2 you're going to get are Quetzalcoatl and Shiva, and you can get them by approaching the tutorial option here, and then they'll be added to you automatically. You don't actually need to go through the tutorial stuff, you just need to access it in order to get those Guardian Forces. If you forget to get them from the computer, they will be forced upon you a little later on. One of the great things about Guardian Forces is that they are going to be able to learn abilities that will really make our card gaming worthwhile, as you'll see a little later. But right now, as you saw, we have no cards whatsoever. However, we can speak to this fellow here who hangs about next to the lift, next to the classroom, and if we speak to him, he'll just, mention that the card game exists, tell us he doesn't really play himself, and therefore give us a load of his cards. By a load, I mean 7. Now normally to interact with people you hit the X button on the PS4 controller when you're close to them, excuse me, the cross button, but if you want to actually challenge them to a game of cards you'll press the square button to interact with them instead. Now if they just give you a normal talking response then you know that they do not play cards. As you can see though, we now have 7 cards, we've already begun our collection, yay. Sadly those cards aren't all that good, so I wouldn't advise challenge anybody just yet. Once you've gone through the next bit of story, you're going to be thrust out of Garden and on your way to the Fire Cavern. Don't forget to make sure you junction your party members, Squall and Quistis, giving them a Guardian Force each, and then giving them some abilities. You can go through the in-game tutorials if you don't know how to do this. This video is mostly focused on the card information. However, I do strongly recommend that the first ability you learn with Quetzalcoatl is Card, and the first abilities that you learn with Shiva are Boost, so that will make the battle against Ifrit a little easier, followed by Ice Magic Refinement, and we'll get to that again a little bit later on. Now, once you have defeated Ifrit in combat, congratulations, you're going to be given 3 notable rewards. First of all, you're going to be able to use Ifrit as your 3rd Guardian Force. Yay! Second of all, you're going to get 20 AP. This will be a big boost to the abilities you're learning on your current Guardian Forces, such as Card and Quetzalcoatl. And third of all, you get Ifrit's card. Now, Ifrit's card is a rare card. That means it's very powerful, and it's going to help us substantially win many card games, really for the foreseeable future. Once we've finished in the Fire Cavern, we're going to head over to the local beach. Sadly, we forgot to bring our bucket and spades, but that's okay, we can take out our frustrations on the local marine life. Now fortunately, the only encounter that we encounter on the beach are the Fastalochian fish, I think they're called. Anyhow, they only spawn in pairs, and each battle provides 6 AP, a substantial amount this early on in the game for such a relatively easy encounter. And once we've taken care of enough of those, we'll be able to learn the card ability on Quetzalcoatl, the Ice Magic Refinement ability on Shiva, and I recommend learning the Fire Magic Refinement ability on Ifrit. I'll talk about all those abilities though in the next episode. Right now, that's more of like a little bit of bonus information that, trust me, is going to help you in the long term. Oh, one more thing on this. Once Quetzalcoatl has learned the card ability, head over back to the abilities menu for that Guardian Force and start learning card mod. Don't worry that all of these abilities have very strange names, you don't really know what they do yet, just trust me. When we finally do get to explain them and use them, the fact that you're going to have them already is going to be a huge bonus. Before we can use our new shiny card ability, we need to equip it as a command, and the person that has the Quetzalcoatl Guardian Force will be able to do that. And here's what card does. Once an enemy has taken physical or magical damage, i.e. their health is no longer at max, they have a chance of being carded when you use the ability on them. Now, the lower their health, the higher the chance the ability will succeed, and what it will do is turn them into the card type of whatever monster they are. So for these fish, which are called Fastilocan Fs, I believe, they will turn into the Fastilocan F card, as you can see there, and that will be another card added to our collection, or two in this case since we carded them both. As a side note, if you kill an enemy using the card ability, they will not give you experience, so your characters will not level up in that way. However, you will still get any item drops and AP for leveling up your Guardian Force abilities. Sadly, those fish cards are not very good in terms of their overall stats, so we need to go and find some better cards before we start battling other players. Now, one good place we can get other decent cards is by heading over to the training centre in Balham Garden. That's the pathway that's got this kind of green floor. Okay, now there's a couple of enemies that will spawn here that we can battle, one of which drops a very powerful card, the other drops a very powerful card rarely. If you're doing this at the same time that I am, which is the earliest opportunity, then Squall is currently going solo, which means I strongly advise making sure he has all three Guardian Forces, and don't forget to equip his magics to boost his stats if you've been drawing magics out on the battlefield, and also ensure that he has the card command ability that Quistis previously had. If you're playing the remastered version, you can turn on the battle enhancements, which will make the next bit of grinding a lot faster and just generally a lot easier and quicker. So enter into the training centre, either the right or left hand side, it doesn't matter, until you start encountering enemies. Now this plant-based enemy is called a gnat, and if we do damage to it, we can then attempt to card it. Now sometimes you can't card it when it's still at high health, or it's very hard to do so, you might need to damage it a little bit more in that case. But the reason why we want to card these, not only are they usually going to card into the Nat card, but rarely, as was my first time here, they can card into this card, the Shumi Tribe card. Now the Shumi Tribe card is a level 6 card, which means it's very powerful, especially this early on in the game. Now you don't have to farm for this, it's not required by any stretch, but you may wish to do so. So you might have a healthy collection of Nat cards by the time you manage to get one of these, but that's cool, it doesn't really matter. But if you don't get a Shumi card and don't want to farm for it, then you don't need to do that either. It's entirely up to you, but it will help. Now the next enemy that we need to talk about is T-Rexor. T-Rexor is a very strong enemy, but he's not too damaging in the early part of the game. However, he does have a lot of health. What I recommend is hitting him a couple of times with Shiva, or if you're using the remastered battle enhancement abilities, then unleash your limit break against him a few times. Try and get him down to about half health, or about 3,500 to 4,000 points of damage done to him. Fortunately, he is weak to ice, so as I say, Shiva is going to do a lot of damage, especially if you have that boost ability that I advised you to learn. Now here's the thing about carding T-Rexor. First of all, similar to the Gnat, he also has the chance of being carded into that powerful Shumi Tribe card, and you'll be very happy if that happens. But on this occasion, even if he doesn't, he will still transform into the T-Rexor card, itself a very nice card. And by the way, apart from the Ifrit card, all of the cards that we've been collecting here can be collected multiple times, and multiple of them can be played in a single card game, up to the maximum amount of 5 cards. So you could play 2 or even 3 T-Rexor cards. Since they have nice stats, it's probably not a bad idea. In my experience, one T-Rexor card, along with the Ifrit card and a Shumi Tribe card, if you're fortunate, is going to be more than sufficient to get you started with beating players at Triple Triad. But you can farm for more than this if you want to, and most enemies in the game, at least at this portion of the game, can be carded to your heart's content. However, before actually challenging anybody to a game of cards, I strongly recommend saving your game, mainly because every time you win a game, you're going to be able to select one of your opponent's cards to add to your collection. However, if you lose, they're going to take one of yours. And let's be honest, they're probably going to take that powerful Ifrit card. So sometimes simply reloading a save game is a lot easier in getting your Ifrit card back than by trying to win it back from the opponent that played it. Okay folks, well if you've made it this far, you should have a nice healthy supply of cards in your arsenal, ready to start battling it out. And we're going to leave that for the next episode, which is going to be focused solely on how to actually play the card game, and more importantly, how to actually win. So I hope you guys will come back and join me for that. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, please don't forget to drop a like. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.